Are you an idiot? Well, you're in good company. There are about 8 billion idiots on this planet, and that number grows every day. Don't be the guy or gal that says, "I'm not an idiot," because that makes you the biggest idiot of all. We all have our moments of brilliance and our moments of idiocy. Embrace it, folks. Don't be ashamed. Without those idiot moments, we would never be able to appreciate our brilliance. Welcome to I Love My Idiot, a podcast about the idiots we love, the idiots we loathe, and the idiots we can't seem to avoid. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Welcome to another episode of I Love My Idiot. I'm your host, Rosie November, and it's good to be talking to you guys today. I know it's been a couple years since I reached out and put out a podcast, but I felt that I'm ready. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to hear myself talk, and I'm ready to share with the world my story some more. I know that many of you started listening to this podcast because you wanted to hear something that was funny, something that would make you laugh, but it's a podcast about love. And love is not always funny. Love isn't always laughter. Love is dynamic. Love is kind, but love also hurts. Love is not fair. Love isn't equal. Love is everything. We're here because of love. We're made of love. We're created by love. Our actions are all in love. Whether you want to call it love, or you want to call it energy, or you want to call it faith, whatever you want to call it, it really does all boil down to love. And this is a story about love. I love Clyde with every fiber of my being. He is such a critical person in my life. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Clyde. I wouldn't have the life that I have. I wouldn't have the children that I have. I wouldn't have the job that I have. He supported me through childbirth, through 14 pregnancies to only come out with 3 live children, through pain, through heartache, through suffering. He was there. And we held each other through so many hard times, through the growth and development of our children, through raising babies to become teenagers. We've done all of that together. And for that, he will forever be my true love. We're no longer married, but we were always tied to each other. We will always be a part of each other's lives because we created the children that we have, and those children will always, always connect us. But when my marriage ended, Clyde was gone. Clyde emotionally disconnected. He physically disconnected. He left. And we split everything. We have half of the time with our kids. Each of us 50-50 custody. I always say nobody became a parent to become a half-time parent. Nobody had kids to say, I only want to have them half of the time. But that's the life that I've been afforded. I feel so blessed that I got to have 12 amazing years as a family unit. And the last 2 years, I've been spending time to identify who am I and what makes me tick. Because I lost Clyde's love, I had to learn to love myself for the first time in my entire life. And I'm not that bad. I'm actually pretty great. But I don't think I would have learned that lesson, had I not been through what I've been through. Do I wish that Clyde and I were still married and that we were raising a family together? Absolutely. But I love Clyde enough to step back and listen to his wishes. And his wish is not to be with me. His wish is to live his life, to explore, to navigate this amazing life and experience things that he has never experienced because When you're married and you're doing the day-to-day and you're living the life, you're working, you're doing your kids' stuff, you've got your obligations to the family, you've got your obligations to each other, to the home. That's a lot. And we gave each other all of our 20s and half of our 30s. And so as we move forward into this life, I just feel blessed that I even get to know Clyde. I feel honored to be a part of his world. And I know that I don't get to talk to Clyde at all about personal things anymore. He doesn't want to be that person for me. And I want him to have everything in this life that he wants. And when he says to go away and to not speak, other than about the kids, I respect that. I made all the mistakes. I did. When we got divorced, I moved on quickly. I moved on so fast that the day that the divorce was final, I was out on my first date with somebody else because I was so scared to be alone. I allowed fear to completely take the wheel, and I was fine with it. I was fine being driven by fear. I allowed it. I made incredible mistakes. I hurt Clyde in so many ways. We texted terrible things to each other. We said terrible things to each other's faces. We had a bitter time. We did not remain friends. We did not care for each other right there at the beginning. We were terrible to one another. I know now why that happened. I know why I moved on so quickly. I was afraid to feel the fear. I was afraid to mourn being dead to Clyde. What it meant to me was that if I hid myself in another relationship and I hid myself behind walls of what I felt was protecting me from pain, that was going to get me through. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. I moved in too quickly. I introduced my kids to his kids within 2 months. 2 months after that, we were living together. A month after that, we were engaged. And my life went on a complete tailspin. The entire time, crying every day and lighting candles for my love for Clyde. Telling him, whispering into candlelight every single day, I love you, Clyde. I was afraid. And I spent some time with my therapist. I spent hours with my therapist talking through my fear-based life and trying to divorce myself from fear. And nothing was working. And the reason nothing was working was because I wasn't loving myself. I was distracted. I was distracted by a new relationship. I was distracted by the negativity that was coming between me and Clyde. I was distracted by being a single mom, working full time so that I can support Clyde and the kids. I was distracted by pain and suffering and fear. And when I stepped out of that, there was a day. I can tell you about that day. I was sitting alone during my lunch in a park, thinking about my life, and I started to cry. And as those tears fell down my face, I realized I am not living my best life. Why would Clyde want to be with me? I'm a blubbering mess. I'm ugly crying every day. I'm whispering I love you into candles, hoping and praying that Clyde comes home. Why would anybody want that person? I don't even like that person. And I wiped those tears away, and I stood up, and I made drastic changes. I ended my relationship with that person that I was with, and it was a mess. It was a mess. I had to refinance a home that we'd bought together. I had to tell my family that I was no longer engaged, I had to basically put my kids through a terrible, sad breakup, almost like another divorce, because they loved him. And we were all scared. We weren't sure what life was going to look like. The kids cried and said, "Don't do it, Mom. Make him stay. Don't let him go." Because we were all afraid. What was going to happen? What was going to happen to us when it was just us? And you want to know what? Something amazing happened. We picked ourselves up off of the ground. And as if forged by fire, we united as a family. And we moved forward. We became bonded closer together. I spent time only focusing on my kids and on our journey together. And I can say that I am 8 months into that journey now, and I stand a little straighter. I no longer live in fear 100% of the time. Does fear creep in? Sure. Absolutely. We just had Valentine's Day. You can't even imagine how hard that is to think, will anybody ever love me again? The answer is yes. I love me. My kids love me. My family loves me. My friends love me. I am loved because I am made of love. And 8 months in to this journey of complete solitude, every other week, when it's just me in this house, just me. No kids, no Clyde to text to say, "How you doing?" No nothing. Silence. Of the 8 months, 4 months have been in complete silence. And I have filled that time with learning to love. Learning who I am. What do I like? I didn't even know what I liked. I didn't know what I liked to eat. I didn't know how I liked to sleep. I was so consumed by my relationships that I became somebody that I don't even know, and I lost myself. I learned that I actually hate eggs. I hate them. I don't like them. I prefer to sleep with clothes on. I don't like to be naked all of the time. Of course, there's a time for nakedness, and everybody loves that. But in general, I kind of like to sleep with clothes on. I do. I like to take baths. I like to go on walks. I like to listen to music. I like to play music on the guitar. I like to read. I like to travel. I like going to work. I love what I do. I love my job. I love my clients. I am me. I am me. And am I whole yet? Probably not. I still have a ways to go. But I'm learning. And isn't that what we're all here to do? In my journey of self-discovery, I met a Buddhist named Billy. I know that seems like a strange name for a Buddhist, but that was his name. He was visiting my town for a business trip, and I happened to be in a similar place to him, stuck, waiting for a meeting. In that short time that I spent with him, his energy was overwhelming. He was love, and you could feel it vibrating from him. Somehow we got talking about my life. He was fascinated by what I did for my career, as well as the balance between being a single mom and doing all the things that I do. When I told him my story, it was as if he was looking through me and into me. And when I got to the end, he took a pause and he said, "The reason that you're struggling with your separation from Clyde is because you love him with agape love. This is the love of all the universe. This is the love of God, the love of energy." He was trying to relate it to my belief systems. But at the end of the day, what he was saying was, you don't just get over the greatest form of love. That love sticks with you. It will never leave you. So what you have to learn to do is move forward and live, and allow that love to live in you and through you. From that day forward, I accepted my placement, and I embraced my love. And despite all the words that have been said between Clyde and I hold my heart And I know that his love lives in me and through me. I love Clyde with agape love. It's the strongest kind of love that is. It's a kind of love that endures. It's the kind of love that lives despite pain, despite hurt, despite anything. I love with the greatest amount of love. But even more than that, I love myself. And that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So with that, my goal moving forward is to start to dream. Dream as a new me. Dream as somebody that knows who I am and what I like and has a vision of a life where I love myself enough, I am enough, and I will always be enough. And I know that somebody will enter my world who will love me, as every part of me. I wish that were Clyde, but I've come to accept that after 2 years, never once has he looked back and said, I wonder what it would be like to be with Rosie again. I've come to accept that he's closed the chapter on me. And you know what? That's okay. I can still love him with agape love from a distance. I can still tell him every time I see him that I appreciate him and look him right in the eyes and tell him that he is the greatest man that I have ever known. I mean that. Clyde is the greatest man that I have ever known. And we'll talk in further episodes about why I feel that way. I have some very specific stories that I want to share with you about what makes me feel that way, but also what formed that enormous love and respect that I have for Clyde. And I know as I move forward into my future, that whoever comes next, whoever chooses me, is going to be strong enough to know that I am love. And it's okay that I love Clyde. Does it mean that a relationship with somebody else won't work? Of course not. But that person's going to be mature enough to understand that the reason I'm able to love them is because I have loved and I have been loved. And I am somebody that believes that once you love, especially agape love, you never stop loving that person. You never stop loving that person. They are part of the fiber of who you are because they taught you to love. They taught you what love was. So thank you, Clyde. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being a part of my world. Thank you for helping me grow. Even now, you're still helping me grow. And I love you. I know I said it last time, but this time I mean it. I'm going to start recording for you guys again. Not every episode will be deep like this. I still am funny. I'm still a comedian at heart. I still want to joke and laugh with you guys. But this is real stuff. This is real life. And at the end of the day, we're all idiots and we all make idiot decisions. But I want you to walk away from this podcast knowing that you are loved and you are made of love. All right, that's enough of the heavy stuff for today. I have to tell you guys about an idiot who is near and dear to me. And that's the guy who picks up my trash. Now, in my town, you can pay like $10 extra to have an extra trash can that you put out every week. Well, you know, life gets busy, so sometimes I have more trash than I have cans, and items will maybe be spilling out of the trash can a little bit. So the other day, I'm going out to check the mail, and the trash guy comes by, and he goes, you know, the can is supposed to be able to close the lid. And every time we come, your cans are overflowing and your lid can't even close. It makes it hard for us because then water gets in there from the rain. So if you can't close the can, then don't fill it with more trash. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, but what if I have more trash than I have can space? Like, my only option is to overfill the can. And he was like, no, you wait till next week and then you put those bags in the next one instead of making it hard for us to do our job. So I kind of brushed it off. I was like, okay, whatever. I'll do better, right? So then I'm cleaning out my garage and I just start throwing stuff in the can. And somehow I end up again outside at the same time as the trash man is coming. And he goes, thank you for not overfilling the can this time, but everything in the can should be bagged. And I was like, are you serious? You're just going to pour it into your trash can? Like, I don't understand. Like, why does it have to be bagged? And he was like, because that's the rules of the trash service, is if stuff's, going to be in the can, it needs to be in a bag, and you need to be able to close the lid. These are the rules. Didn't you get the rules when you signed up for our trash service? And I was like, listen, sir, nobody reads the fine lines of what it means to throw trash away. We just put trash in the can, and we expect you to take the can, and that's the deal. Like, that's what you do. I purchase your services. You pick up my cans of trash and dump them in your large truck. Now, granted, I'm not being this confrontational with him because, I don't really like confrontation overall. But I was just like, okay. So now this has become a war between me and the trash guy because I am just kind of finding stuff around the house to throw away and not putting any bags in the can anymore. In fact, I've made it my personal pleasure to fill the can with unbagged items. I always make sure the lid closes because that seemed to be a real problem. But, yeah. The bag is a lot less important to me than it used to be. So, long story short, I got to see the trash guy today as I was going to work, and he goes, I noticed, ma'am, that you're still not bagging your trash. And I said, yeah, sometimes there's just more trash than you got bags for. And then I just smiled and waved. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. And he looked at me and couldn't even help but smile because he could tell that he was on to me and that I was intentionally putting trash in there unbagged because he had pointed out to bag it. And he said to me, if my trash guy had said what I said to you, I'd probably do the same thing. And we had actually a moment of laughter standing in my driveway while that I told him that I have been intentionally throwing things in the can unbagged ever since he told me I must bag all my trash. The hilarious part of the whole deal is that at least 4 years ago, not with the same trash service because we lived on a different side of town, I once saw Clyde throw an entire toilet in a trash can. And you know what? He didn't bag that toilet. So I'm just saying, worse things have been picked up from trash cans in my family than unbagged trash. Long story short, don't mess with Rosie and her trash cans, or else you might just find yourself a toilet someday in your trash can. Oh my goodness. I think the trash guy and I are actually going to end up being friends after all of this because we did have that nice laugh in my driveway, but seriously, hilarious. Can't laugh, then what's the purpose of life? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of my podcast. I'm really excited to be back in the business. I'm glad to be talking to you guys, and I'm so happy that you listened to this episode. Please don't forget to follow the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. We're also on social media, so check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also watch our episodes and listen to our episodes on YouTube now, so take a look. That might be a good way to listen if you don't have a podcasting platform. I'm just so happy to be back, happy to be here with you. And take some time, like the podcast, maybe even give a review. We love that stuff. And you can always check us out on our website at ilovemyidiot.com. And don't forget to tell an idiot that you love them. I love you.